Morning, everyone. Welcome on and thank you for joining us today for a special session of Wes Johnson's VoiceAPalooza in support of the Alzheimer's Association and The Longest Day. I'll be your host, George. This is my channel, Zero Period Productions. Ophelia will be joining me, but we have an incredible cast today. We have several of the talent who helped bring Skyrim to life. We'll be able to talk about the game, and all in support, once again, of the Alzheimer's Association. Really fantastic cause. Really glad that we're able to do this today.
Hello,
Ophelia?
everyone.
Hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, if we have any new folks, I guess some of you might know George already from this channel. I am Ophelia. I am one of the community managers at Bethesda UK, and I specifically look after Elder Scrolls games. So this is absolutely fantastic to be a part of these streams and raise money for such a very, very important cause out there. So I'm really just glad to be here and talk to everyone on another fantastic panel. This is my second one, and it still feels like a dream.
It really does. It's really strange to be a part of, but it's incredible. Being fans of these games for so long and then getting to speak with the people who help bring it to life is very surreal. I know for us especially.
Absolutely.
Well, it's a treat for all of us to be here with you today, too. This is really a global panel. We've got folks in the UK, we've got folks on the East Coast, the West Coast, North, South, from everywhere. We've all come together for a great cause today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I guess...
I was going to say, if I could tell you a little bit about what that cause is. Sorry about that.
Nope, that's exactly what I was going to say.
We're here today to end ALZ. It's hashtag end ALZ. Alzheimer's disease is insidious. It's affected by 2030, 78 million people are going to be living with dementia alone, dementia and Alzheimer's, and 11 million people in the United States, just the United States alone, care for those people who are suffering at home. We know what it's like. I know what it's like. I've lost a mother, a grandmother, my uncle. To have someone in your family be stripped of who they are, their memory, their personality. It changes, it goes. You lose them before you actually lose them. It can be a long and painful process that sometimes shatters families, and that's where the Alzheimer's Association comes in. They're not only there looking all the time, research to try to find a cure for ALZ, but they are also there to help the helpers, to help the caretakers, to take care of people who have nowhere else to turn. You feel lost sometimes. So you reach out to alz.org, or if you're not in the United States, if you're anywhere in the globe, like if you're in the UK, you would reach out to alz.org/global, and they will put you in touch with people who've been there, who know their way around, who know where the resources are to get those for you, because you are not alone. And we're here today to help. And we're hoping that all of you can donate. There'll be little things popping up in chat. There are going to be links that you can go to make donations. Even if you put in $1, $5, if you're going to buy a cup of coffee, well, spend a little money on a cup of coffee and then spend a little bit here. It's going to be doing great things. You're going to be doing wonderful things to help people who truly need it. And that's why I'm grateful to have all of these wonderful voice actors here today to jump in for the cause. One, to celebrate Skyrim and the wonderful time we had just a little over 10 years ago when it first came out and hit the market and revolutionized gaming as far as role-playing games are concerned, but also to share in the good that we are going to do together to help families in need through Alzheimer's Association.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Wes. I guess we'll start by just introducing everyone that will be joining us today. Like I said, several actors who participated in the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, and many of which voiced several characters as well, as is something that people have picked up on over time, recognizing different voices with different characters. But Alex, if we could start with you.
Yeah, so it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, and I'm excited to see what kind of gameplay we're going to be checking out. Yes, I play the characters of Ankano and Ahmad Mochir of the Dark Brotherhood. A lot of people love to see me die, so yeah, there's that bit.
You had it coming, Alex. You had
That's
it coming.
right. I play some real nasties. That's for sure.
Sorry, I was trying to get the game set up. Craig, if we could hear from you.
Oh, Craig's
Are you
muted.
muted?
Unprofessional. First
No,
rate.
you're also a terrific
it's Monday.
mime.
It's okay.
I'm waiting for my teenagers to wake up. It's 12:30 p.m. here. Anyway, it's great. It's great to be here. It really amazes me the staying power that these Bethesda games have. I started to get really nice email inquiries from around the world some 12 years ago, and they continue. And people just, once they love a game, once gamers fall in love with a game, they never fall out of love with it. And they keep us going and they keep us alive. And it's really a beautiful thing. Gamers are my favorite people. My memory isn't very good. Interesting that it would come in an Alzheimer's charity event. But I looked it up and I played Gallus, Desidanius, and Periite, and Hircine. And so anybody who wants to tell me what that was in the chat room, gamers, please remind me what I sounded like. Was I a dragon? Was I an emperor? I don't know. But anyway, it's great to be here, and thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh, sorry.
Which inn are you a patron?
Sorry, because I have the game up, so my apologies. 1 second.
Multitasking.
Yep, trying to multitask. At least I didn't say it would be successful, but Wes, I guess you're the next one up.
Well, I am Wes Johnson. I play Sheogorath, Daedric, Prince of Madness, spending my time in the dead Emperor Pelagius's mind. And I'm also the Emperor Titus Mede II. Murdered, of course, by Alexander Brandon. J'accuse! And there's some other characters in there that, again, yeah, there are some other characters in there. But Skyrim was wonderful to play. Loved Skyrim, not just to voice it, but I did love playing it. I've put 600-700 hours in there, and I started playing it again recently with the 10th anniversary edition on the Xbox Series X, and it looks beautiful. It's just beautiful to see and play, and my wife couldn't be happier to see me addicted to it again, so it's awesome.
That's the thing. It's one of those games where once you start playing it, the time just flies by. It'll be night before you know it, and you don't know where the time is going.
You start
It's
playing,
insane.
you say, I'm going to play about a half an hour before I go to bed, and the next thing you know, the birds are chirping outside, and your day is toast.
You're lucky if it's just one day at that point. Paul?
Hi. Yeah, I'm first of all, I'm honored to be here. I'm really anything for Bethesda. And Wes calls, it's like, yep, I'm there. Especially for this kind of a cause. I played Golmar Stonefist. Golmar. Was that too loud?
Never too loud.
My lord.
It's passion.
Yeah, it's Golmar is really probably the true me because I'm such a huge character, a huge guy. I look really great in a bear outfit. Actually, I guess I'm right, like on screen. I'm right in the middle of Golmar and Septimus Cygnus. Yeah. Do you know the scrolls? The scrolls? Yes. And I keep getting friends and friends of my daughters who love telling me that they've killed me. Yeah. I've said this before. My daughters have never played a game that I've worked on, ever. The only game they ever really played we played together back in the day was Dance Dance Revolution. However, every guy that my daughters have dated have been gamers. So at least they have good taste. In fact,
And how do your daughters like that when the guys come in and suddenly they're fangirling over you?
Yeah, McKenna, my youngest, said, at one point she said, I don't know if he likes me for me or if he likes me because of you. It was for her. My other daughter, she is getting married on Saturday to a serious gamer. And Skyrim, when it first came out, is one of the most beautiful games. the whole world opens up. It blew me away. I just fell in love with it. So that's where I am. Oh, I also played Feldir, that nobody remembers. Nobody really cared about.
I guess that's the problem when you have about 800 different characters that trying to remember every single one. There's some that people latch onto, and I'm sure there are people who absolutely remember Feldir, but it's such a wide game. Like you said, it's massive.
Yeah.
It's this incredibly dense role-playing game. It's the same way
Yeah.
that in real life you might not remember every single person you run into all the time.
Oh, I love when people say, no, I've never met your character, because they went a different way.
Okay, someone is saying in chat that they love Feldir, so
Oh, good.
See?
Thank you.
see?
He helps kill. Was it Alduin? Yeah.
Oh, that's
Anyway.
right. No,
Yeah.
now that you mention it, now I remember the name. Now I recognize it.
There you go.
I think we just lost Alexander, so let me take a look at that.
Oh,
but,
he
in
just
the
sent me a
meantime-
text that his internet dropped out. He'll be right
Okay.
back.
All right.
Oh, I forgot. I also played Hermaeus Mora in, A Million Eyes, A Million Tentacles. It was just typecasting. That's all.
And that was in both the base game and the DLC, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly.
Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, Richard.
Hi everyone. Welcome. Thank Wes again for inviting me for this. This is a very good cause, and I'm really happy to be here as part of the Skyrim cast. I did about 25 different characters on the game. Unlike Wes, I was very impressed that he could remember every character he did on the game. I did about 25, and I don't remember any of them. So, but I do remember I was one of the guys who said I was an adventurer like you until I took an arrow to the knee. And I was also, as I was telling the guys earlier, I was probably every coward in the entire game. So anytime, in the very beginning, when they roll up in the wagon and the guy takes off, and that's me. I'm every situation. where there's cowardice, they thought of me for some reason. I'm not really sure why, but it was a lot of fun to play and be part of, and the characters were very diverse and very wonderful to play. So we
You
had a
were
great
basically the Monty Python run away
Yes,
guy.
exactly. That's exactly right. I have to tell you a quick story. This is kind of funny. I don't know about you guys, but when I went in, you never know with these games. Sometimes they're going to blow up. Sometimes they're going to be, you think they're going to be incredible, and they just go right in the toilet. But this particular game I was working on, I had several. As I said, I played 25 characters. So I had a lot of sessions, but I remember at the time they had a big convention downtown, and I was having lunch. And I looked up, and there was 3 giant buildings downtown, and there was a giant thing across all 3 buildings for Skyrim. And I'm eating my lunch, and I'm going, oh my God, they need to pay me better. I mean, this thing took up 3 giant buildings downtown, and I'm going, oh my God, that's when I realized this is a big game. This is going to be big.
I think I know the buildings that you talk about because we've done several arts on them for in June for E3. I remember we had several of them in there. So yeah, I know exactly.
I know exactly
what you're talking about. Yes. Yeah,
because that would have been one of the more recent ones.
Quite crazy when you come over there and you see the size of it just there.
It's ginormous. Yeah, it was amazing. So that was pretty cool. It was E3, I believe, that I was at, and it was just incredible to see that.
And frankly, speaking about kind of the size of the game, because you get to work on many projects, have any of you anticipated for Skyrim not only to be as huge as it is right now, but also go so strong that it got re-released for the 10th anniversary that we just had the celebration for as well, and the fans just continuously playing through it and creating, different mods and different new stories with it.
There's so many versions now of Skyrim that it's become almost a little bit of a joke. There was actually back a couple of years ago, they did this thing at E3. I don't know if you remember that Keegan-Michael Key did. And I was lucky enough to be able to do the voiceover to lead into that, but it was like Skyrim appearing on all these different things, and it was basically Skyrim now on Alexa.
Yes.
And he's using Alexa to play Skyrim.
Yeah.
And I thought that was incredibly funny. And then suddenly I found out you can.
You can, yes, you absolutely can.
There have been
They
many
really
times now. They do. I don't even have a magazine rack in the bathroom anymore. And people go in to visit. There's an Alexa in there. They can immediately just start to play Skyrim. Go on, adventurer. But it's crazy, the different things. And then the 10th anniversary. Now they are, from what I understand, we're voice actors. We're always the last to know about anything because they come to us when something is just months away from going gold, from being done, to get the voiceovers, right? And so everybody is always asking us, are you in Elder Scrolls 6? You doing Elder Scrolls 6? You can tell me, don't worry. Well, yeah, we do worry because we're usually under an NDA, but also these things, they don't tell the voice actors anything. And the reason is because they don't trust us, and probably with good reason. We won't know until the very close to the end whether we're actually in the game or not. But and then we're very mum and we wait and you hold on. I don't know about you guys, but how long has it been? What's the longest you've waited after recording a game before it actually came out? Maybe forgot that it was even going to happen.
Well, sometimes also they give you the wrong name on purpose, so you don't know what actual game it is. And then the game comes out, and you're on the game, and they go, "Oh, you're in this game." I go, "I'm in this game. I had never heard of this game," because they give you a fake name. So that happens a lot.
I voiced something called Heimlich maneuver. I don't know what this is.
There were some games that I worked on for a company in China. It's a pretty big company in China, so that kind of gives it away. For game company, that is. And so this was in 2014, and I had to repeatedly email, like, what's the name of what I just did, and is it coming out? And so it would take quite a while before they would get, and they'd say, oh, it's called this name you've never heard of, or it's this big franchise that you have heard of. And I'm like, oh, thanks.
Half the characters that I voice seem to have names like UXB87, and they never wound up in the game.
It sounds promising, though. I think all of us now wish we could hear that character. What voice did you use?
By the way, I think it was a voice actor who actually leaked the Supreme Court shenanigans. So just in case that voice actor's not.
See what I'm? Yeah,
they were going to voice the announcement. Yeah,
that was it. Pentagon Papers too.
Well,
yeah, just try to get a national security clearance when you put voice actor on the application. It doesn't work.
Exactly.
I hate NDAs, though. I don't know about you guys. I hate them.
Oh, yeah. I love filling them out, though. They're great to fill out.
You don't. It's like the last thing you want to do. You got like 10 auditions, and you have to fill out all these NDAs. It's like, no, thank you. It's horrible.
Yeah, and usually it's something you wouldn't want to talk about anyway. It's like, I'll tell you what, I'll sign an NDA if you sign one to promise you never actually use my real name.
I just think they should take the money they pay all these attorneys to come up with these NDAs and give it to the actors. That's just me.
You know what? Cheers. I'm with you there. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, good. That'll be your next show. We'll do a thing for that.
Hey, you can pay us to talk, and you can pay us to shut up.
That's right. I like that. I like it.
I really like that.
So Ophelia, now you are, tell us, you're with community outreach for Bethesda UK. What is the vibe for Skyrim and those games in the UK, in England?
And do they hate our accents?
No, to be honest, Skyrim, love for Skyrim never stops. I feel like every day I see new content being created for it. Every day I see new people discovering the game. When Skyrim 10 anniversary happened, I saw so many people discovering the game for the first time, which was very sweet because I've known this game for 10 years and watched somebody else just get immersed in the game was like a whole new experience because you witness it through them and you see the same joy that you felt when you first stepped into that world. And it's it's definitely loved a lot out there because people still play it. I mean, even I still play it. And you even have it in VR now, so like if you want to truly feel like you're
Yeah.
Dragonborn, which is both fascinating and scary because I played it and every time the dragon flew by, I had to duck like physically because I was like, my god, it's huge. So yeah, no, it's really lovely to see folks still play these games after so long. It kind of shows the impact that it has on some folks because people love the stories like that. People love worlds that they can get into, and obviously voice acting helps just bring it to a whole next level where these characters, they're not just there, they're alive, they have personalities, they have a voice, you interact with them. So yeah, it's I feel like it never stops, that love for Skyrim.
Ophelia, can you get it on Oculus? How do you get the VR? How does
I
it go
have
through
it.
that?
There's a
I have it
couple
on
ways to get it.
Yeah, there are a couple ways to get it. So you can I don't know about Oculus, but I run it on Steam. And yeah, it's definitely, if you have VR, it's worth a try because it's so much fun. You get to actually swing your sword and like, you know, and keep the shield. Or if you have magic, you actually get to cast magic and like point it at them. It's a whole
Got
new
the
experience.
image of some dude in goggles and his underwear in his living room just shouting Fus Roda to himself.
Walking into walls.
Yeah. People next door. Shut up over there.
Yeah.
I am seeing in chat that you can use Oculus Link to play the Steam version in VR. I know it's also available on PlayStation VR as well.
Yes, yeah. So there are several ways to play it, but yeah, if you have it, definitely worth a try. It's so much fun.
But kind of like you were saying, even though it's been 10 years, the fact that people are still playing it just daily, it's still, I believe, one of the most played games on Steam to this day. It's crazy the longevity that it's had, the lasting power that it has had. And there are so many people who, when Skyrim first came out, it was their first video game. It was the first video game they had ever played, and it got them into gaming as a whole. It was the game that everyone talked about, and it's insane that even so many years later that it still has so much relevancy in gaming.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's still going on, and it really does. After playing the 10th anniversary edition, it looks as fresh and as good and as beautiful as any current game coming out right now. Although, you know, I've seen some of the trailers and things of that sort for the next gen stuff coming out with Starfield and all that, and that looks like, you know, the technology just keeps getting better and better to the point where with the Oculus, you're going to eventually feel like you're right there in the middle of all this. Games have a tendency to be full immersion anyway. They bring you into a world in a way that a film or a play or something else really can't. It makes you a part of it. And I think with the technology coming out, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely.
And it's really, and it doesn't, someone asked me the other day, how does that change the way we voice the games? And I don't think it does, because no matter what the technology is, we're still pulling characterizations, characters, things that sort from ourselves, from our experience, from emotion, the human experience. We have to try to make it real no matter what. And with Morrowind, as we said the other day, because the graphics weren't all that great, it was the sound and it was the voice, it was the emotion that really made that world come alive. And I don't think that we go about it in any different way as the technology advances, but I do believe it really enhances the entire world and your experience in it.
Things have come such a long way since you were saying if Skyrim's the first game that people played. I think the first RPG that really drew me in, and I'm dating myself here, was Ultima 6, and it was because of how interactive the environment was, and the experience that I had to match that with more modern RPGs started with Oblivion. Now I'd played Daggerfall, right? So I sort of skipped Elder Scrolls games along the way. I played a little bit of Morrowind, but a lot of Daggerfall and a lot of Oblivion, bunch of Skyrim. But the Oblivion was really what sort of made me go, whoa! Like this is kind of how I'm really picturing being in an environment like this, and having it really seem a lot more realistic, and it just got bigger and better with Skyrim to an exponential degree. But back for Ultima 6, you could like look at there would be like a telescope, and you'd go, I wonder what I could do with this. Walk up to it, click on it, and then you see the camera pan far away and like hit a mountain or something that you wouldn't have been able to do just trying to pan the camera from your character. So that kind of stuff is really what, when players try stuff out and they're just like, oh my gosh, like the characterizations are huge as well, but just being able to interact with your environment and see what can go on, just that keeps people coming back, even to this day.
Exactly, even 10 years later. And it'll be 15 years, 20 years, and I'm sure people will still be playing Skyrim. Maybe not as much as now, but I don't think Skyrim itself will ever go away. I think there will always be that audience for it. I think there is always going to be people who will continue to love it and get lost in it.
Hopefully we'll have longevity, because we've seen with Morrowind and Oblivion, they just as loved. So hopefully Skyrim will have the same faith, where people will still discover it, and maybe it will look retro for them down the line, because of how, as you said, everything is advancing quite quickly.
Always
but
changing, yeah.
yes, but hopefully people still will find its own charm in it.
I can't believe it's been 10 years.
It has gone by very
blows
quickly.
my mind.
It's so weird. I mean, I could see a year or two, but 10 years, oh my God.
Yeah.
It just flies by, doesn't it?
It does fly by. And, we are looking down the barrel. I mean, Todd basically came out and said after, Starfield, you're going to have Elder Scrolls 6, and then they're going to go with a brand new Fallout, which is cool. I mean, I like ESO and I like Fallout 76 very much, but for some reason, when I play the single player version like Skyrim, it seems much more intimate to me talking to all the NPCs than dealing with somebody who's out in the real world playing it somewhere else. Does that make sense to you?
I absolutely get it. As someone who's played both, I know there's a lot of people who will play the MMOs and always still wish, it's like, oh, I don't want to see everyone else running around doing their own adventures. I want to be the only one to be on these adventures. There's something about it where knowing that it's you alone in this world, I think that does help some people get into it much, much more.
Yeah, I won't play Fallout 76 with my brother. He wants to go and run everything, and he takes off. He's not around there, and it's like, I want to go where I want to go. So, yeah, that definitely when you're doing the single player, it is your experience, and you take away from it what you will. And I think that's what Skyrim did so well. This open world where you could go anywhere, do anything. Main quest, I'll get to you later. No worries, no worries. There's so many different side quests that you can get to before you finish things out. Even with Oblivion, I kept those Oblivion gates open forever before I finished the story because, I was the Daedric warriors on the Oblivion gate side to come out, and once you close that down, they go away, and I felt sad and lonely, so I didn't want them to go away.
Just fishing was fun.
Fishing.
I was like, how could I enjoy fishing this much as a side quest?
I know, right?
Oh, from Anniversary?
No, I'm going back to Oblivion again.
Oh, okay. I think that quest had come up in conversation just the other day as well, because it's one of the first quests you can come across, just catching the 10 slaughterfish or getting their scales, just getting eaten alive by them, by the Imperial City.
So, coming back to kind of 10 years, just over 10 years ago, I guess, for you, how was it recording Skyrim? How was it finding those characters? Because as you mentioned, every single one of you voiced over several characters, so you probably had to find that character and what they're like and how they're gonna sound. What was it like for you?
Terrible. Oh, you go in and, hopefully you have a good director who kind of guides you and gives you an idea. I know about, I think we all kind of hear certain things about the character, and then we kind of engage it and try to make it our own somehow. So, but it was great. I mean, I honestly really enjoy being able to play a variety of characters. That's really fun for me to do that. So that was really great. And in this particular game, Skyrim, I got to play a lot of different characters, and most of them were cowards, though. Played a bunch of cowards, and it was fun because honestly, I usually get the hero or the villain or a dentist or something like that. But I got.
But it's a heroic dentist.
It's a heroic or
Heroic
villainous
dentist.
villainous dentist.
Villainous, yeah. Well, that's very Marathon Man, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes,
I think the direction on Skyrim was wonderful. I don't know if you got to work with Mark Lampert, but I know a number of us did, and Mark was terrific. And
yeah, he was.
He changed the way I approached a lot of things when I did Oblivion, and going through Skyrim, it was pretty much the same kind of thing. And the folks there who do the writing, I mean, the writing for these games is tremendous, and you don't always get that. You don't always get that kind of thought and depth and detail in the story. So it's really cool to be able to get these things. We see them normally, most instances, when we walk in. You're not looking at a script before you get there. Suddenly you just throw the phone book down in front of you, and you take it sentence by sentence as you go through and finish the story up. So you're pulling characterizations out of your wazoo along the way, using your improv experience, trying to think of where can I go in my range to do something a little different with this one. The sessions can be very interesting. And then after you've done 3, 4, 5 characters during the session, you get to kill them all. You get to go in there with efforts and broadswords and get stabbed and cut and mutilated, but you have to do it in the voice of each of those characters. It has to be character specific, so you got to remember what you did. And then it's like, okay, well, how would this evil dentist die?
The thing I love about what we do is finding the different characters, whether they have a picture of the character that you're going to do or just a description of them. And the wonderful thing about Skyrim for me was there were 3 totally different types of characters, and it always starts with the word. If the words are there, then the character will come. I find it easier if the and Wes, you're absolutely right. The writing on this I thought was brilliant, even with the crazy Septimus. It was a poetry. There's this weird poetry that this guy is spouting. It made sense to him. It may not have made sense to me when I first. But you read it a couple of times, it's like, yeah, it's very poetic, and he gets his point across in a circuitous route, but it's beautiful. In fact, because we were doing this, I went back and listened to some of Septimus's interactions, and I just fell in love with the guy all over again. And it still hurts me when somebody brags about killing him after they got information from him. It's like, oh, thank you. But you got what you needed, right? Oh, yeah. And then I killed him.
That's all I wanted.
Yeah, right.
What bothers me is when they killed the emperor without letting him talk first.
Oh.
Because if they let me talk first, I'm going to send them after Alexander. And but if they don't, then they don't get that. And there's a little pot of gold waiting for them on the other end if they go.
The backstory of how things started was it began, and I think Wes knows this already quite well. Mark Lampert was somebody that was hired into the industry at Ion Storm while I was audio director there, and he came out of Texas State University, San Marcos, and started in at Ion Storm doing dialogue editing and sound design. And the guy was better or more skilled at what he was doing than I was, and I'll say that all day. I mean, he would edit stuff in SoundForge, and he would get the file name right, and he would go like point at the screen and do these little hand gestures, and he was on. He was great at what he did.
He's a mad scientist, really.
Yeah, I mean, he's super talented guy, very on point, very focused, very great, talented at what he does. It was him and Emil, the lead designer, that were in this session for both of these characters, and I mean, I'd known them both from Ion Storm, so I had a bit of an unfair advantage, if you will, if I speak in more of a Stewie type voice as I say that. But no, what was great was the examples that they gave, the references that they gave for the characters, and Kano in particular. They wanted me to channel, not imitate, but channel Jason Isaacs, who was Lucius Malfoy in Harry Potter. And they were just like, picture this guy, he's got long white hair, but he is just a snob and a total asshole. And we want you to sort of have that come through. Yes, he's a high elf, so, you know, just sort of have that regal type attitude about it, but just sort of be snooty to the player and just, I don't have time for you. So I mean that's all I needed, and then the lines just practically. I mean, obviously they spoke themselves as they were well written, and that direction just made everything happen. So, yep.
Yeah, it was very, very satisfying to murder you. I'll say that.
Yeah, and I mean I wish. I mean, for the players that actually did kill you, yes, I'd be satisfied, but still. Yeah, Ahmad Motir was not that much better. He's pretty much a snake as well. So yeah, Dark Brotherhood. Yeah, if that's your thing, go for it. But
I have some ties to the Dark Brotherhood. I could get behind that. Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. That was the one of the other. I was the ghost of Lucian LeChance in Skyrim, which is great. I wish he had more things to say, because every time you're sneaking up on somebody and using stealth, ready to go, suddenly it's like, have you heard the tale of Matthew Bellamont? It's like, yeah, a million times. Get over it, Lucian. Do you talk to your own characters, guys? If you're playing a game, do you ever talk back at your own characters?
I mostly talk at the other characters, at all the NPCs in game. Like, I'll almost kind of just react to them a lot of the times, just as if I really was there.
Yeah.
Well, when you try to steal something, you know, you always try to see what you can get away with, what you can steal, or at least I know a lot of players that do this. And then, you know, like half the blacksmiths will be like, oh, that's fine, everything's okay, I'll just speak as though I'm not paying attention to what, but then all of a sudden you're like, hey, and then all of the guards start running at you, and yeah, so that's fun to talk back at people. It's just like, wait, you weren't paying attention to me a second ago, what's the deal?
Say, there are more varied voices in Skyrim. I do sort of miss Oblivion, when if you steal a fork, about 1,400 of me come out of nowhere and attack you. I used to hear my kids chopping me in the back room to pieces, you know. It's better if your kids, if they're going to kill you, let them kill you in a video game. I'm just saying, it's a lot safer in the long run.
Especially if they're chopping you into pieces.
Exactly right, yeah.
That could leave a mark.
Yeah, you hear back there, you hear like, halt, criminals, So, what are you guys doing back there? Nothing, Dad. I've been murdered. So, you know.
Get their anger out there.
It's cathartic for the kids.
It is, very much so, very much so. I think a lot of kids would be more well-adjusted if there was just a video game where they could murder their parents, get it over and done with, and then move on with their day.
Wow.
Just in the game, in the game.
I don't know if we should, get behind something like that.
No, I don't.
I am seeing someone in the chat say that they're trying to justify killing all the Imperial Guards because their armor's very good early on in the game. I see the excuses. I see what people are trying to use to justify their wanton murder.
So, yeah, looting the corpse is a reason for killing. Okay, I see it. The morality
that makes it much
clear
better,
there.
right?
Yeah, it's very
Not
clear.
really, no.
Actually, that doesn't disturb me near as much as when I said earlier they throw down a stack of papers the size of a phone book in front of you to read, and somebody in the chat goes, "What's a phone book?" So
You're dating yourself,
What's
Wes.
a phone booth?
yeah. I know, no phone booths, no phone books. It's I do remember in the days when a cell phone would be about the size of Samsonite luggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. That they
You
had
could
that.
use it to make a call or to microwave your burrito. It worked both ways.
Dual purpose.
So, George, do you have any burning questions, or maybe anybody in the chat has any burning questions for us about Skyrim that they were always wanted to ask?
We did have a couple questions in particular during the Morrowind stream that we weren't able to get to, but a big thing in Skyrim is the modding community, the fact that people are able to use tools similar to what Bethesda uses to make the game, but to create their own content, to share that with people. Right now, there's been a lot of projects where people are even kind of almost revoicing some of the characters that you guys voice and trying to do their best imitation of it. And I had a lot of people asking the other day how that feels to you guys, or the idea of that, and what that means to you who originally voiced the characters.
Well, we can't do mods because we do the actual games, and we're union actors, so it's a situation where we can't really do the mods. So if they're going to build these, I think it offers opportunities for people to break into the industry, to work on games, to do things before they move up to the point where they're going to be able to do it. And I think for the modders themselves, a lot of them have been hired by Bethesda or other game studios. It's a really great training ground for them. I think that Bethesda makes it possible for them to be able to build these games is wonderful. Whether they're close or accurate to us, you know, it's never quite there. I'm not going to say that it's all, you know, they're doing an exact
They can't replace
interpretation.
you.
That's very kind of you, Wes.
But I you know, I don't know about you guys, but I do get people occasionally who will put something on Twitter or whatever saying, here's me doing your voice.
Yes.
And it sounds sometimes like your kids coming up going, I'm doing Dad's voice, you know, so.
It's not that good.
Yeah. But you can get close. You're not gonna be exactly us. But you can, however, be exactly you, and that's the point.
Yes.
It's an approximation. It's working with what you're able to get.
There's a guy out there, and I'll give you his name. His name is Daniel Hodge, who did somewhat close, and he's done a lot of things copying my stuff. And I was listening to some of the stuff he did, and I reached out to him and I said, it's come to the point, Daniel, where you need to stop doing me and start doing you. You're talented. You can voice. You can do things and build your own characters. You don't have to walk in the paths that I've been. Have fun and explore and bring something of your own to it. So eventually, guys, you know, maybe we've all started, and when I've done stand-up comedy, you start doing things in the styles of people that you grew up loving before you eventually find your own voice. And I think that's what happens with the mods as well. Yeah. My lawyer will be in touch with your lawyer or your mother.
You should have told that guy that before he took your announcing job away from you.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. People will cut the brakes on your car or your hamstring to try to get those jobs, but we hang on. We've had our hamstrings reinforced, and
hamstring shields activated.
Wow, I didn't know that was such an integral part of your voice acting, was your hamstrings.
Oh yeah, well,
I'm learning so much from this show. It's fantastic.
You've got to use your whole body, Richard. I mean, the diaphragm's connected to the hamstrings. You know.
Yeah, I know that song.
Stretch. You got to stretch before you voiceover.
Okay.
That's right.
We do have a couple other questions in chat. One person asked if there's any particular game series that all of you would want to be a part of or to work on.
Red Dead Redemption.
Oh.
Which one?
Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
I want to be a cowboy.
I think you should be. It'd be a good one.
I'm kind of digging Elden Ring these days.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It takes some patience, but it's forgiving enough. Kind of like you talking about Skyrim. If you try to go with the main quest and you're a complete noob, it can be a bit challenging. So you do your grinding, and then So the Elden Ring kind of follows that rather than the usual Demon Souls type format, which is if you can play for 5 minutes, you're dead. You can play for 30 seconds, you're dead. 10 seconds, you're dead. And you're like, do I really want to keep doing this? So yeah, and some of the VO in Elden Ring fascinates me because at the beginning you have this sort of very deep voicing at the dawn of the world, when magic was born, and you're just sort of like, okay. But no, the story really unfolds in the game itself. There's a lot of really cool things that start happening when you start playing. So the narrative exposition might be a little on the hokey side, but like, it changes a lot when you start discovering stuff playing. So I'm kind of digging that. That's I know it's pretty big right now.
And that's
I want to be
anybody
Charles
else been
Martinet.
really big.
What's that?
I want to be Charles Martinet.
Yeah, Charles. If you could be him for 1 minute, you know you'd have to get a woohoo in there somewhere.
We sat next to each other at a con in New Zealand, and he sat to my right, to my left, and folks would come. We were very close to each other, and every time he signed, everything he signed, it would be woohoo.
Oh man!
All day long, he did that.
Yeah, he did that at Awesome Con too. Yeah.
It was I was going crazy, and then finally somebody came through and asked me to do the end game, the thing I yell at the end of another game. Can I say another game?
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid.
Cool.
And at the end of when the player dies, I yell Snake. Can you hear me? Snake, Snake. And then at the top of my lungs, I scream Snake. Well, this guy said, could you yell Snake? And I said, okay. We warned the little kids who were around. I didn't tell Charles, and so I did it, and then I screamed at the top of my lungs, and he literally he jumped out of his seat. And I said, "I'm just getting even with you, buddy." I've been hearing "woo" all day long.
Yeah.
But he's been doing that. You know, you talk about longevity.
Oh,
He's been doing that game, for 30 years, 35 years?
One thing, he also gave us all this great advice when we did a panel with Bethesda in November, I believe, and he started telling us about this Apogee hype mic that he uses when he takes on the road with him, and all of us go, "Ooh, tell us about that again," and we're all writing down the information. Yeah, here we go.
Yep.
Right here. I got
there
one.
You go.
Yeah. So, thank you for those tips. I got a microphone and a little woohoo, so we're good.
He's a great guy.
Now, Richard, you've gotten one of the roles that in gaming that everybody would kill to play. You've actually played the Joker.
Yeah, many times actually.
Yeah. And did you have to wax your mustache like Cesar Romero to do it, or?
I did. In honor of Cesar Romero, I waxed my mustache. Well, I'm not sure I had my mustache when I first started doing it. I don't know, who the hell knows. This stuff comes and goes, as you know. You can shave it, it grows back.
I always felt that Shea Gorath was kind of like the Joker of the Elder Scrolls series.
Yeah, that could be.
That's about as close as I'll probably get to the Clown Prince. But I mean, how much when you got that role, was that like is that one of the roles you were happiest to get, or is there something else?
No, because I'd been working, for a long time doing these kind of obscure characters that nobody knew. I mean, the fandom knows these characters, but if you're in an elevator and people say, "What do you do?" and you say you're a voice actor, and then you tell them a few of your parts, and they look at you like, "Huh?" But when you say the Joker, everybody knows the Joker. So that made me happy, and it's a very iconic character, and it was really something to get that. That was a crazy audition. I mean, one of the most fun auditions I've ever had in my life, because the game, and I've been doing this, the Joker and Raiden of Mortal Kombat for 13 years now.
Oh, wow.
And it started with Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, and I just want to bring this in a little bit because I think you guys would appreciate it. When I went in there, they had Warner Brothers on the line, they had DC on the line, and they had NetherRealm on the line. And they basically said, "We want you to audition for all the DC characters and all the Mortal Kombat characters." So it was really like being a kid in a candy shop, and you just kind of went nuts. And it was really a fun audition. And at the end of it, the casting director said, you know, who would you like to do? They liked you for everything. Who would you like to do? And I said, well, if I got to choose, which the actor never gets to choose, you know,
Right.
it's always up to the, you know, producers or whatever. But I said, yeah, when I did the Joker, it was just like something clicked. It just something really, it was like an out of body experience. And I said, that was really something. I would love to do that. And then Raiden, I said, I love those two characters, and I got booked on both. So it was incredible.
Sweet.
And I've been doing those for
like
13
Babe
years.
Ruth called your shot.
Yeah, it was. That doesn't happen very often. So that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. You know, there is a downside to that too, because you know, Mark Hamill's so famous for doing the Joker, and you get invariably you're compared to somebody who's really well known for doing a part like that. But you know, I didn't. To this day, I've not heard Mark's Joker, so I just do my own take on it. And you know, we're all actors, and you want to go and play the character. You're not going to play an actor playing a character.
Right.
You know, so that doesn't make any sense. But you know, the fans kind of think you know, you're trying to sound like somebody or copy them or whatever. And sometimes they do ask us to do that, which I don't know about you guys, but I absolutely hate that.
Yeah.
You know, can you do that like you know, so and so, and I feel like saying, well, maybe you should hire so and so.
Yeah. That actually does interfere with you bringing that little spark of yourself that you can connect with and make the part really truly your own emotionally, when you're actually also having to think of somebody else's interpretation, and it's never going to be quite exact.
Yeah. And I think all of us, I think you were talking about to that young man who was wanted to become a voice actor is very true. The thing that really is going to make it for you as a voice actor is to find the thing that's unique about yourself and use that in your characters instead of trying to ape or imitate somebody else's deal, you know. And that's going to really make you unique, and you're going to find your niche that way.
There were a couple of characters that in DC Universe that were mixes. So, for example, Black Adam was one of the first ones that I was, and of course now good old Dwayne Johnson has a really major film coming out with that character. But they asked me to use an African accent with that. This was before I sort of was just like, hey, let's try to find somebody that's actually from Egypt, and or you know, somebody a bit more authentic. But they said, hey, this is the backstory of the character. Here's the bio. Here's the description. Here's some stuff. Go with that, and I did, and that was great, and I loved playing that character that way. With General Zod, they said, hey, could you possibly work a little bit of Terrence Stamp into this guy? Which, to be honest, I did like doing that. I liked channeling another performance, and because I couldn't, you know, some actors I can imitate pretty well, some actors not so much. So with Terrence Stamp, it was sort of a struggle to try to get that original sound for the Superman 2 dude and the Superman 2 General Zod. There have been, I don't know, 5 or 6, you know, whether it's voice acting or the stuff in the new films. But yeah, it's when like you said, if there's somebody else that isn't iconic, especially, and they're saying, hey, there's this thing that you might not have even heard, Mark Hamill, for example, and you get to do your own take on that, you know, people don't say, oh, it should be more like this or that, and I think that's still a good thing. I think there's a lot of fans that really enjoy the different interpretation.
Yeah, and you can bring somebody, if you have somebody in mind of a characterization, it's good as an inspiration. You don't have to exactly copy them. Like with Shea Gorath, one of the inspirations I had, they wanted a stand-up comic who was dangerous, and they wanted a Robin Williams, and I thought, no, too cuddly. So I thought to myself, Billy Connolly, the Scottish comedian who is just wonderful, and I think he's got an edge, and he can be both hilarious and a little scary. So I made part of Shea Gorath the Scottish Billy Connolly kind of funny kind of guy. But then I took an Irish side which I took from some folks at the Irish Channel who are from Cork, Ireland. And I took some of them and I mixed those two together a bit. And then when he gets malevolent, he drops the accent altogether because it's all affectation for him. And then just let him flow back and forth between all of this little mix. So you can take a little something from somebody, but if you add something different to it and mix it, like what was it? Dana Carvey used to say his George H.W. Bush impression was basically equal parts Jack Nicholson and Mr. Rogers just sort of thrown together. You know, you can take
What a
two things,
combination.
put them together, and make something new.
Wow.
And I think that's the thing. You have to make it your own in the end. I think that's really the
Yeah.
main takeaway there.
Yeah, you really do. I mean, Alexander, by the way, you don't just do voicing; you're also a composer for games, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it started ages ago with Tyrion, with Epic Games, and then went to Unreal Tournament, and then Deus Ex with the poster that I've got here. But while I was at Ion Storm, it was anybody and everybody in the office that had even decent voices, which people still do this. We all know that, right? They'll just be like, hey, we know Gina down in accounting does a fantastic voice for this sort of. So we'll
Gina does good work, to be fair.
So they said, hey, could you try Tech Sergeant Kaplan and a couple other characters in Deus Ex, and you know, just it was a curse to just quote movies all the time. And so at that point, my wife said, hey, you know, you really should do this professionally. A couple other people were saying the same thing. But yeah, started with music.
With music and voiceover, there's got to be some kind of similarity, because I know with voicing, rhythm and all sorts of things, those are very important. It's almost like music for the voice, and then music. What similarities have you found between the two of them?
I think it's along the lines of what you're saying. It's like your mind capturing something and wanting to spit it back out in some way, shape, or form. It could be singing, it could be, and you know, being anal retentive about it. You just, for some reason, want to be able to quote things exactly the same way that they were in a film, or you want to sing things exactly the way you hear them, like how fans can get obsessive about that's not the same performance as it was on the album, and they're changing it up live, and I don't like that, or some people don't care, right? So like for those of us that have that creative aspect just with our ears and how that translates, it can be used in sound design, it can be used in voiceover, it can be used in music. And there was somebody that said, you know, if you're a composer, don't just instantly say that you're not a sound designer. You actually are. You just don't realize it. And the same thing actually goes for voiceover. Like when you're asked to experiment with different textures and exertions and reactions for your character, you're a sound designer at that point. Like you're using your voice as a sound design generator. So yeah, it all bleeds together.
I find that people that have some sort of music in their background have a better go at this stuff. There is a definite rhythm to voicing. There's obviously, if you're doing any kind of dubbing work, there's rhythm involved with that. But you know, even in voiceover, there is a rhythm to it. And I find that the people that have some sort of, I'm a drummer, so I think people that have any kind of musical background, whether they're singers or they're musicians or they play piano, whatever, I think it helps immeasurably in this stuff. I find the people that get stuck are the ones that have no music background or anything to them. So, you know, I find they do go hand in hand quite well.
I couldn't agree with you more, Richard.
Yeah.
Not for me. It's not. I was a music major.
Yeah.
Well, I started playing with guys who were way too good for me, and said, "I think I'll take the easier path. I think I'll become an actor." Boy, that seems like a really easy thing. Because for me, it's when you're reading a script, you know, there is a rhythm to every character that I've played on stage or wherever. Yeah, I agree. I can usually tell, not always, but I can usually tell if someone has a musical background when I'm working with them.
True. Yeah.
How about you, Craig? What about how does music affected the way you deliver things rhythmically?
My parents were both professionals in New York City a long time ago. They both taught music, they composed it. My mother was a great pianist, and I didn't get anything from them. Although when I was a kid, I was a jingle singer, so I did know how to sing. And I did a lot of jingles, and it was fun. And once you get it, you never unget it. And I agree with everybody else. Man, does it help. Because when we do our voice work, it's nothing but music. You guys remember the Music Man, how he teaches the four guys to sing? Is just say ice cream, really ice cream. And they go into all their stuff. I've always thought that was just ingenious. What a way to teach people who think they can't sing that they can sing. So I think music is absolutely essential. Even you don't need to play an instrument, because the instrument you have is the one we all have, our voices. I would like to add a story, because I panicked completely when George said that he might ask us, what was it like to record your stuff for Skyrim? Because immediately I remembered that I remembered nothing. Absolutely nothing about how I did anything that day. But I do know where I was and who was there. But the most interesting thing of all was the only time I ever got to hear another performer perform, because for some reason they really want you all by yourself and no one else is allowed there, so that only they know what's being done. But I got there early and I heard loud and clear the performer who was already in the booth before me. And this performer was killing it. Every single take was better than the take before, never missed a thing, range like I'd never seen before. But that's not all. Between every single take, this guy would say something so funny that the people in the other room were holding their guts, falling off of their chairs, and pounding the table. He never missed with his jokes either. He is one of the most amazing performers ever. I think that was Wes Johnson.
Well, thank you, Craig. Craig has been like an inspiration to me around here for years, just listening to him as the consummate pro. And what I love is that when you hear Craig normally, he's doing these great documentaries and he sounds so serious and he brings such gravitas to everything he does. And then he comes out and does something like the Adoring Fan in the video game, which becomes iconic and wonderful. And by the way, a man who has the best hair in the entire world, he makes Pierce Brosnan jealous. When we did the thing in November, I was able to get him an Adoring Fan wig, and he put it on and wore it proudly. Even on his TikTok, he's put it on and worn it proudly. So there's a guy who has a great sense of humor and is could be, if you listen to some of this stuff and think so dramatically, that he's very, very serious. But you know what? There are multi layers in that onion.
Thanks, Wes.
Well, the chat room is blowing up, knowing that the Adoring Fan is here.
The Adoring Fan is
very
my
happy
hero.
to see it.
What are you guys looking at?
The chat
Twitch
on
Twitch.tv.
Zero Period Productions on Twitch.tv, and they're going through basically. Let's see, the Adoring Fan. Holy shit, my hero. The Adoring Fan. We love the Adoring Fan. By Azura. Can we hear the Azura line? By Azura, by Azura, by Azura. It's the grand champion. Oh my God, I didn't know we had the Adoring Fan in our midst.
Once again, people just latch onto those characters.
I'm looking at this chat thing on the right. It looks like there's not a single person as good.
There's one person there.
Yeah, it's they're going the Byazuras are out of control, so you probably have to throw it. You have to throw us one, Craig. Throw him a bone out there.
You know, it's the only one I do if there are not too many people around, because it's really loud. I wouldn't want to. All right, here you go. Here you go. Bias Yora, Bias Yora, Bias Yora. I can't believe I'm next to the grand champion. You.
Bravo!
Yes, you have just sent them into the big O tizzy on the chat board. So
Takes me back. Oh, that's
you had no
incredible.
idea that the adoring fan was going to basically become a sex symbol, did you?
I am? Great. I'll have to tell my wife.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Have you guys been? What characters have you done that you've been surprised at the reaction to?
All of them.
well, Richard, you mentioned doing the arrow to the knee line, and that's something that I don't think anyone really expected would take off so much, but it's taken especially the Elder Scrolls community by storm. But just in gaming in general, it's the line that everybody knows about.
Yeah,
And it
it's
didn't
crazy.
matter how I said it when the people like at conventions. If people say the line, it's like say the line. I'm like, huh, what? And then they'll say arrow, and then if whether I say, but I took an arrow to the knee, or oh, I took an arrow to the knee, like in the moment, right? Like they would always be like really like the delivery of the line, whether it was said the right way or not. So
Do you know what that means? That expression?
Yeah, I mean, in the game, everybody takes an arrow to the knee. It's exactly why they're not an adventurer anymore.
Well, what I heard, and this could be wrong, but what I heard was that expression was, I used to be an adventurer until I took an arrow to the knee, was I got married. And that's how they call it.
Okay.
Taking an arrow to the knee.
I mean, that you're the one who actually said the line, and they're making everybody else say it. Tomorrow, Richard, you and I are going to be here with George and Ophelia again, but we're going to be with Casey Mangala, who's also voicing ESO.
Yeah.
And this is an interesting story. 10 years ago, Casey was a fan. And Casey reached out to me via email and was begging me to do the arrow in the knee line as the old school Oblivion Imperial Guard. So I put it on YouTube. It's still on YouTube to this day. And I said, Merry Christmas, Casey. This one's for you. And did the arrow to the knee as the Imperial Guard. As it turns out, Casey then went on to become a professional voice actor themselves. And it's a great story. I mean, this is somebody. Yeah. I mean, you can be an inspiration to somebody, but they have to put the work in. They have to really want it and go after it and take the massive rejection that comes with trying to be an actor of any type. You know, they say in baseball that if you strike out 70% of the time, you know what that makes you? An all-star, because you still have a 300 batting average. Well, getting the roles that you go out for audition-wise, way smaller percentage than that. Your on-base percentage would be very low, but over time, that's what a career is made of, and you have to just do your audition, put everything out there. It may be the only time you ever perform that character, and then let it go. Just let it go.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it anymore. Your job is to do that audition, because you're not going to get a call. You don't sit by the phone waiting for the call to come in. You move on to the next thing. Yeah. And there's so much rejection in this business, but perseverance, continuing on, practicing, getting better, putting the work in, that'll get you there. And it got Casey there. And tomorrow we're going to have Casey on with us talking about ESO, same bat time, same bat channel. Right, George? Feel you?
Absolutely. You know it. It doesn't get any better.
I have a funny story about that, the rejection thing. I once got a thing from my agent, and it said right there in the thing, they're looking for a Richard Epcar type voice. So I thought, this is got to be a slam dunk, right? So I auditioned for it, and I didn't get cast in it. And I'm thinking, is there somebody out there that sounds more like Richard Epcar than me? I mean, that just shows you the crazy business we're in. But
I do the announcing for the Washington Capitals and doing the arena announcing and calling goals for like Ovechkin and people like that for 22 years.
Nice.
And at one point, they had this big commercial for Verizon where they wanted the announcer announcing Ovechkin. They wanted me.
Yeah.
And I had to go in for 3 separate auditions. First audition, second audition,
Wow.
callbacks. In the final callbacks, I'm sitting there in this casting director's office. And you know the one we're talking about, Craig. You had to go up 6 flights of stairs in order to get there. And so I'm sitting up at the top with these 2 other guys in the room waiting to be called in. And we're just sitting there, and I'm like, hey, guys, how you doing? They're like, we're doing wonderfully. Nice to see you. And I'm like, oh, shut up, man. But
Wow.
even to play yourself, you've got to go through hoops. And I was this close to being rejected as being me. So
Yeah,
I feel you.
That's unbelievable. Well, at least you got it. I didn't even make the grade for myself.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Richard, you
Yeah.
gotta hear this. Maybe you've heard it already. Actors has 4 stages of his career. Stage 1, who is Richard Epcar?
Yes.
Stage 2, get me Richard Epcar. Stage 3, get me a Richard Epcar type. Stage 4, who is Richard Epcar? So you're already at stage 3,
So
buddy.
you're telling me I'm on my way out? Is that what you're saying?
We've all had it happen. The same thing happened to me. They wanted a Paul Lighting in this particular little video that I did. My agent sent it to me. I auditioned, didn't get it. I did a character in the cartoon for 10 years, and they're doing they brought the cartoon back after a couple of years, and my agent sent me. They were auditioning for my character. They're re-auditioning the whole cast, and the character that I created vocally 10 years ago, or that ran for 10 years, she said, I'm just submitting you. And I said, what, did you read the description? Because it said we wanted no sound alikes.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I said, they don't want me. And she said, well, you should audition anyway. I said, no, I'm not going to audition. They want no sound alikes. That means they're not looking for me anymore. Well, eventually, I guess there was some for whatever reason, they ended up asking me to come in for the callbacks, and I didn't get it. And it's one of those things. That's the business. It's like, okay.
But you know what? They may not have wanted you, but you know who wanted you? The fans, because the
That's
fans
why I think that's
love
why.
hearing that continuity with the voices. The people. Here's what I find is a lot of
Yeah.
times you'll get a new guy coming in and he's taking a show that's been a success, and he wants to put his own mark on it.
Right.
You know, he
Gotta
wants
rub
to do
that
it.
stink on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. He wants to put his own stink on it. I didn't want to say that, but that's what they want to do. And you know, and by doing that, they kind of exclude a lot of the stuff that made that show successful, I think.
Mhm.
So, you know,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a ridiculous thing, but you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That's my motto. But you know, they don't always
happens.
agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have another story about that very thing where they're looking for a type.
Yeah.
When I was in New York 30 years ago, my agent calls me and tells me, okay, for this, and this is they're going to be doing a lot of spots, a lot of money. They're looking for a Coulter rule type. Coulter's a guy I audition with all the time. I said, okay. So I immediately hang up. I call up Coulter and I say, Coulter, there's this thing out there. There's a slew of commercials are going to be made, and they're looking for you, only a type like you. And he goes, oh my God, why in the world are they doing that? I still work for scale.
Right.
That was nice of you to do that. Not every actor
Good
would.
man.
Man, I'll tell you what, and especially not in New York City.
Yeah. No, that's very nice of you. You're a good friend.
Hey, man, we're all in a union.
Yeah, I had a couple of guys call me when they had the audition. They said, I'm not going to audition for it. I'm not going to take a job that you
Right.
created. You know,
Yeah.
Steve Bloom was one of them.
Wow.
That's nice.
Who said, no,
That is
I'm not going to do it. We had an audition. There was an audition for a commercial, and they wanted a Lou Grant type. Okay.
Yeah.
And I go into the room, here all of us, all these actors, and we know what they're looking for. They wanted from the old Lou Grant show. Ed Asner played Lou
Right.
Grant.
Right.
You know, kind of a rough-edged boss. So we're all sitting there and we're all making jokes. It's like, why don't they call Ed? he's still alive. This was like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we're all sitting there. We go in and we do our audition. I said, this is dumb. You know, Ed Asner's around. In walks Ed Asner. Ed Asner, after all of his career, he had to audition for this, and it wasn't like a national commercial.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Luckily,
I wonder if somebody got fired over that one.
luckily he got the gig.
Okay.
Like, who else you gonna hire? You know,
And they probably didn't even know it was Ed. They're just like, this guy's dead on.
He's just like the other guy.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I got a chance to work with Ed once. We did a pilot that never saw the light of day, but to me, it was an opportunity to work with him. He was just a really great guy, and I got to go play poker with him afterwards. They did the premiere at like some old folks home in DC. But when I say that, it was like an assisted living place. It was for the very wealthy assisted living, and we're sitting at a table playing poker with all these elder folk, and this old lady took both me and Ed to the cleaners. She's like your little old lady grandma, and she was a shark, man. She was a shark.
Oh, I don't think I want to bet very much today.
Exactly right. Oh, I'm having so much luck. This is fun. I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Probably shoots pool too.
Yeah.
You were talking about the four stages, right? Craig brought that up of an actor's career. When I was at Midway in San Diego, there was that's when I got just pulled in a little bit to the voice acting Hollywood machine, if you want to call it that. And so I would go with different casting agencies for different projects, some that we'd use more than once. But there were 3 dudes that would come up in every single casting call. Sorry, nobody here was actually on that, but the 3 dudes were Steve Bloom, Fred Tatasciore, and Roger Bumpus. Every single casting call would have those names in it. And I'm like, these guys must really be buddies with the casting folks. And so, you start hearing the stories, just like, well, they've done such great jobs for all these other projects. I'm just like, yes, but we want a little bit. One does want a little bit of variety here. They had great auditions. They didn't make every single role that they auditioned for, and they were always super polite, super professional. But I was like, are these the only 3 voices in the entirety of Los Angeles?
That's true.
Yes, there's only 3. There's only 3.
Occasionally, 1 or 2 others come in and out, but it's basically they're the core.
Yeah.
But those are 3 good ones that
this
you
was in the
mentioned.
early 2000s, so yeah.
You
Years
mentioned
ago-
3 good ones.
Yeah, they're damn good. Years ago, I did a lot of work at Hanna-Barbera. Years ago.
Wow.
And I got an audition for they were going to do 52 episodes. They already had they were like little short 5 or 10 minute pieces, but there were 52 of them, and I got cast in it.
Nice.
And the casting director was a friend of mine. She called me. She said, "You got cast. You're playing the mayor. It's 52 episodes." And I'm just like, "Yes!" And a week before we were supposed to shoot, I got a call that they decided, because of money, they were reducing the size of the cast, and they went to 3 people, and it was Frank Welker, Jonathan Witters, and I don't remember who.
Was Dawes Butler still around at that time at Hannibal?
He was, but he wasn't involved in this. This was a Saturday morning where your 52 episodes, you're going to get 100% residual the next time it's played.
This is when Saturday morning cartoons meant something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it was 104 paychecks that were there and then gone away. Charlie Adler was the 3rd. And these
Charlie
3 guys you couldn't complain about because they're all incredibly talented.
That's still the stuff that drives you to drinking, gentlemen.
Yeah, I'm with you, buddy.
Hooray for Hollywood. Yeah, I think we all have horror stories about stuff that's happened, or I narrated a movie, and I was very excited. It was a movie with Al Pacino, and then right before they released the movie, I was told that Alec Baldwin was going to replace me. So how do you fight against that?
Yeah.
I can take it. No problem.
We're still here.
We are
Yeah.
still,
We're still here. We're
We
still
are still here.
Once again, celebrating 10 years of Skyrim, especially.
Thank God for
Like,
Yes.
Skyrim.
that's the
Yeah.
longevity, right?
And drinking.
Well,
Yes,
of course.
Again, it helps.
Skyrim might as well be the Citizen Kane of role-playing games. Dare I say it? I don't know. I mean, Elden Ring's great, and we've got Ultima 6 way back when, and all of the stuff in between. But I do. The more I hear it, the more I'm like, God, we're lucky.
Yeah.
It's just that.
The thing is, the things that we have been cast in, there's always going to be a story of the things and the big fish that got away. But you know what? We've landed some nice mackerel along the way, haven't we?
Amen.
Absolutely, yes. You're
Yeah.
here. Speaking of which, Alexander, I've been dying to know what the hell your shirt says. I've been looking at it. What does it
Okay,
say?
so yesterday was Father's Day, and my
Yeah.
oldest is 18, and so
Okay, it says, have gone 0 days without making a dad joke.
last record was 0
Wow.
days.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
it was great. It was awesome, and I got all three of them gave me a coffee mug that had their names with sperm saying, "We came from your balls."
Lovely.
I
Lovely.
love your kids.
Yes, lovely.
God bless them.
You done good, Dad.
You got to raise the kids with that right sense of humor,
Oh yeah, yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, the mothers may not like that we raise them with our sense of humor, but it has to be done.
It's a minimum. There's sort of a quota with eye rolling that mom has to do. Just sort of like, oh please, that goes to other stuff where there was the lead designer on another project at Midway was like, hey man, we have a lot of the same interests. You got to come over and we'll barbecue. We'll be quoting Predator 2, saying there's no killing what can't be killed, and our wives will be inside going like this. So
Yeah.
kids, yes, we pass that on.
Here's to our kids' sense of humor and our wives' tolerances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
Here.
Well, folks, I do want to remind everybody that if you talk about this later, use hashtag ALZ and ALZ, because that's what we're trying to do here. And if you get a chance to donate a little something to help us drop the gloves on Alzheimer's, we would be most appreciative. And share this around, folks. Is this going to be back up again, George and Ophelia? Are they going to be able to watch this later?
They'll be able to watch it later on this channel. We're going to have reruns over on the Chad Fallout 76 Podcasts Twitch channel as well. There will be ways to watch this after the fact. We'll make sure to share it everywhere we can because this has been such an incredible experience. And like you said, gaming for good, making sure that people are aware of these stories of everything that's going on and how they can help be a part of this.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I mean, the gaming community has really come together. And you know what gets me, guys, is we've all seen this. There's basically a perception out there that gamers don't care, that they're apathetic, that there's a toxic kind of quality. That's a very small percentage, It's just like with anything else. The fact of the matter is most of the gamers I've met are just wonderful human beings. They're very activated in their community, and they've been doing so much over this past week and will continue through the 26th to help us raise funds to help people who not only have Alzheimer's, but those that are caring for them. And we're having laughs, we're having fun for funds. And that's hugely important. And to have each of you come out here today and do this with us and help make some good in the world, I can't thank you enough. I'm super grateful.
Well, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, I was going to say this is the most effortless thing to do to get that sort of thing. And while I'm sitting here on one hand going, oh my gosh, Kickstarter, and then Twitch, and people giving shout outs and getting money for that. Oh, I'm an old man, I don't get it. But look at what's happening here, and how awesome is that? That's just that. Geez, that just. It's not like we're building houses for Habitat for Humanity, but we get to sit in a chair and help people out. I mean, that's just.
I know, but I wish the youngest guy in the group would stop saying he's an old man, though. That's.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. The baby.
Yeah, this whole thing is wonderful, and we can't thank you guys enough for coming out. And remember, we're going to be back here tomorrow
Yes.
12:30, it's Eastern time, 9:30 on the West Coast. And Richard, by God, thank you for getting up.
No.
What time do you have there, Ophelia?
It's almost 7 p.m. here, so
7 p.m.
There you
Wow.
go. Time for supper.
Yeah. I'm sorry to keep you past tea time.
That was at 4 o'clock. That was a long time.
Yeah.
I have a question for Richard before we get on.
Sure.
In all seriousness, would it be okay if I borrowed your line? And is that line, I used to be an adventurer until I took an arrow in the knee? What is the exact line?
I used to be an adventurer like you until I
Like
took an
you.
arrow in the knee. Yeah, like you.
Yeah.
What a
And
great,
yeah,
now
you-
that I know what it means, it's even better.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't write it, so yeah, you can take it as
I'm
far as
going to
I'm
borrow
concerned.
it, but I
Yeah.
Everyone uses it. Don't worry.
Yeah,
apologies
everyone
to
does it.
Richard Epcar, and then I
Yeah.
say the line. Okay,
Okay,
thank
I
you.
like that.
right,
And
that's
and
good.
don't forget the little payment you're going to give me every time you say it.
25
Cameo
cents
payment.
each time.
Exactly.
What is your cameo charge?
Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
By
about
the
that,
way,
Wes. Sorry about
speaking
that.
of the arrow to the knee, we are giving away a few noble chairs. Noble chairs have been so kind to donate some chairs that people can do. I just put something in.
Sorry about that. We usually have links
deleted it.
blocked just because of
well, then
like,
you
spam
can
bots
send
and
it.
everything. I will
You
send
can
it. but
send it. Yeah, it's the Linktree link that
Yes.
I posted a link so that you could all win a chair, and George zapped me.
I
So,
can't believe that now.
wow.
I'm on the record banning Wes Johnson in my stream.
What is it? Can you enlighten us? What is a noble chair?
A noble chair. Take a look at what Ophelia has there. Ophelia has one from
Oh,
the
nice.
Elder Scrolls Online, and we're giving away one that's for Skyrim
Nice.
10th anniversary. It even has right down by the knee written there a little arrow that says "arrow to the knee." It has dragon runes on it. It's beautiful. And then there's one for Fallout. And it's a Nuka-Cola, and it's like fire engine red. It's a very sexy chair. And from what I
Nice.
understand, these noble chairs are incredibly comfortable. They usually go for about $500. So you're going to want to go to that link tree, which I understand is being put up there now. You can also win a copy of High Isle as
Yes.
part of the event. There's so many giveaways, so many things that you can do. And really, all we're asking is just donate a couple dollars to Alzheimer's. Can you do that for us? Just get out there with a little piece of hefty hickory and knock that sucker out of the park.
Listen, I was looking at the chairs yesterday or over the weekend
Yeah.
because we did the Fallout on is that
Fallout
Friday?
4. Yeah, Fallout 4 on Friday. Yeah.
On Friday, and it was like, they're beautiful and how wonderful that the Noble Chairs is doing that, and I ended up slapping myself in the face and saying, "Well, jerk, have you donated yet?" So I donated last night. It's like,
Oh, good for you. Thank you, Paul.
Wonderful.
just had to. I just had to.
Yeah, I dropped someone directly over to the site as well because it pushed it up over a little bit. So I, dropped in a donation to push us up over the top a little. And we keep raising the amount because people keep showing their generosity. Right now, we're over $15,000 that's been raised for Alzheimer's research,
Yeah.
which is a drop in the bucket as far as what's needed in this world, but it's also a real blessing that all of you have done this. So encourage your friends to come out. We're going to be having fun all week. We're going to be doing, Craig and I, Thursday, are going to be playing the Morpheus Elder Scrolls board game.
Cool.
That's Skyrim.
There's
we
no
may take-
voiceover in the board game.
There,
But there
Will-
could
But there
be.
will be.
we'll be providing that. Yes,
The
it'll
first
be lovely.
time. It's exclusive.
We got to get a contract for that quick.
They're going to be showing, speaking of mods, they're going to be showing the Point Lookout mod over the weekend, which is going to be fantastic.
That's
It's
incredible.
not the same when you say I took some cardboard to the knee. It's just not the same.
Not as devastating. Not as devastating. We're going to have there's going to be, I believe, a concert. The Fallout London is going to be showing their mod for the first time. You're going to want to check that out. And we're going to have a tequila talk. Our friend John St. John is going to be joining us, and Ellen McLean and John Patrick Lowry. And I don't know if tequila will be involved, but it wouldn't hurt.
If John
it's in the
St.
name.
John's there, it will be involved.
It will be involved. It will definitely. Speaking of John, by the way, Richard, you and I next spring
Yeah,
I believe.
God willing.
God willing, because we were supposed to do it this year, but we're going to be going to the Bahamas on John St. John's King Khan cruise at kingkhancruise.com. I'm saying it out loud because if I put it in chat, it would be blocked.
Oh.
But yeah.
I think you might be okay now. I think now you'd be
Okay.
able to.
Okay, well, it's going to be great. A lot of voice actors, a lot of fans. We get up close and personal. John will be drinking tequila, and we're going to be having a grand time. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So, and then Sunday, our big finale on the threads is going to be our VoiceAPalooza Prime panel. So you're going to want to come out and check that out. We're going to be, I think Matthew Mercer is joining us for that one.
I was going to say Critical Role. Awesome.
Yeah. Their Critical Role that they just did this past week was super emotional. No spoilers. Everybody dies. But was that a spoiler? Yeah,
kind of was.
They keep talking about it being catastrophic, but it's amazing. They get so into it on that show. And everybody out there, if you guys do a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, maybe we should do that. We'll all get together. I'll get some scotch. We'll sit around. We'll roll some die, and we'll take out all the elves. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Craig. Sorry, Alexander.
He meant take him out to dinner.
Yes, that's right.
And a lot of the streams, those will be over on the Chad channel, correct?
That will be over, yes, on the Chad Fallout 76 channel on Twitch.
We have a link in chat so people can go and leave a follow there. Turn on notifications. You don't want to miss any of these streams. They're all going to be incredible. The amount of people who are participating in, like you said, Wes, this global event.
It's a global event. And, guys, again, it seems that I've said thank you enough so many times, but I can't say it enough because I'm so grateful to you for coming out, for doing this. And not only that, this has been a blast. I've loved the stories.
Oh,
yeah, it's been fun.
It's been a lot of fun.
All of mine have been lies.
And of course, we're all just still, as we normally are, sitting in booths by ourselves. That's what we do. Everybody keeps people were on there saying, did you guys get a chance to work with Max von Sydow? How about Patrick Stewart? I've been in 2 games with Patrick Stewart, and I haven't met the man once. So, I've tried stalking. Trust me.
I got to hear secondhand stories from Mark Lampert about the wonder that was working with Max von Sydow. I don't know anything about video games, but that it was really incredible, and his delivery was unparalleled.
Alexander, if you see him at a con, by the way, Alexander does one-man shows of Star Wars, Jaws. He does every character on the way, and it's fantastic.
Those are fun times.
Spoiler alert, he gets eaten by mini sharks.
Oh, man.
Ha!
Wait, just giving it all away today.
I was going to say, spoiler alert.
So, George, Ophelia, anything you want to say as we tie this sucker up and send it out into oblivion? Oh, sorry, Skyrim.
The ethers.
Yeah.
No, just big thanks for everyone
Big
to
thank you
coming
to
for
everyone.
this stream. It's been fantastic hearing all of your stories. And yeah, thank
We've
you.
seen some really fantastic donations today between the Morrowind stream and the stream that we had today. 1,200 raised in total just here on this channel, but across the VoiceAPalooza campaign, like you said, over 15,000 since Friday. That is amazing. That is incredible. That is unprecedented, and that is made possible by everyone who's donated, but also to everyone who's joined us on this panel and will be participating in the ones to come.
Thank you so much, guys.
I have a fun story that I'll save for tomorrow. You can ask me
Okay.
about
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
I'll make a note
about
of that. then.
Christopher Lee. All right.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So tune in
Good one.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
12:30, right back
Yes.
here. Get a Christopher Lee story.
I'll give him a little bait and hook. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you. And donate. Please donate.
Donate.
Please.
Donate.
Yes.
It will be open
it's a great
through
cause.
Sunday.